Hey friends, welcome to this week's video. This week we're looking at a company called Gravastar, and they're known for their portal turret looking alien speakers that have surprisingly good sound. They are not just a gimmick, they actually sound good. And they've finally gotten into the true wireless game with their Sirius Pro earbuds. This is something that I've had on hand for a very long time, and I've been looking to get a review. Unfortunately, other requests have come through, but this is a personal one for me. So I really wanted to check out how these guys are doing. So let's talk about the specs and then see what I like about these guys. So specifications aside, let's talk about the actual build. This case is amazing. I love how weighty it feels in hand and how solidly constructed it is. The fact that they used metal is not something that you usually see in the true wireless industry. You usually get like some soft touch metal, some matte metal, something to make the case feel good. However, the construction there is plastic, so there is some concerns of quality and lasting durability of it. However, with a metal case, you don't really have that. Even if you took something premium, like let's say the Bang & Olufsen EQs, those do have a metal case. However, if you drop that, it's going to get scuffed, it's going to get dinged, it's going to get dented, and it no longer looks pretty because they use such fragile metals. This guy, I could probably chuck it against the wall and nothing will happen to him because it's so, just look at it. I mean, it looks so sturdy. It feels super thick. It's a thick boy. And I love the fact that they went with that. It just sort of exudes the vibe that they're trying to do. So let's get into the actual ear tips themselves. They fit amazingly well. I was expecting them to be a little bit more finicky at this price, but these melt in my ear. They disappear quite easily. I don't know what they're doing with the curvatures, but they're not doing anything special in terms of ear tips. It's just silicone ear tips. So these guys stay in place no matter how you might move your head, and they're extremely light. So I really like that. I don't know what they're doing in terms of the design, but they're pretty sleek on head. They feel really nice in ear. There's not much to complain about, and they're not going to be all sway and in your face. As we start talking about the connectivity, it's really easy to connect to these guys too. If you need to go into like switch devices or whatever, it's just a simple click of the button on the bottom. And then once you hold it down, you'll be able to be found within your device. Unfortunately, there's no multi-connect here. There's also no app to support such connectivity or swap really easily, so you're going to have to do that manual reset every single time, which might be annoying for some of y'all that have more sophisticated headphones, but overall, it's a really quick resync. I've had no issues with it. As we start talking about the controls are also very reliable as well. It is a single tap for play pause, it's a double tap for previous and next track, so the right or the left side is the previous track, right side is next track, and then you also have a triple tap feature, which is good for switching between gaming and music mode. And there's a little bit of slight tuning difference when you do that. So when you go into the music mode, that's when you start to have a little bit more emphasis on the bass. It'll react to layering of instruments a little bit better, just, musically oriented. However, when you go to gaming mode, it does bring that bass down a little bit so that you have a little bit more emphasis on your highs or mids for those sound effects, so you know where they're coming from. You can hear how punchy they are, and they're not drowned out by the bass of it all, especially if there's explosions in your games. You want to still be able to hear all the detail without all that mud coming through. So it is optimized for that. There are some other features here that make it good for gaming. So let's say that it has the 5.1 surround support. So again, if you need that sort of spatial audio, they're going to be able to give that to you, because if the source is able to discern left and right and behind and forward, you will be able to get these through these headphones because they do support that. Another really good thing that is going to be important for these is going to be latency. And that's one of the biggest sellers of these, is how low latency they are at 65 milliseconds. Not the lowest I've ever seen. I think Soundcore is releasing something that will get us 30 milliseconds of latency. However, when you look at industry standards and really popular headphones out there, like let's say the AirPods Pro, those have like 200 milliseconds. So you're getting over double the speed of sound getting to your ear at less of a price. So it's really good for all of you that mobily game and play Call of Duty Mobile or Fortnite Mobile, so you guys can hear all of the sound effects right away. I personally don't play those games, but here's a sample of me playing Bullet Echo, which will hopefully give you an understanding of how the sounds come through really, really quickly. Another thing I want to note is obviously directional, sound quality, that all matters, but volume also matters, because if it's not loud enough for your games, it's not going to be pleasurable. These guys get so freaking loud. It's insane how loud these get. For perspective, I usually play all my music and games and everything on my phone at around 70 to 80%. For these guys, I'm at 50%. I'm living at 50 quite often. It's very rare that I had to go past 70 at all or even touch 70, and I don't know what it is. I was looking at the sensitivity ratings on these. It says 100 decibels, and that's lower than the Grells that I was testing at the same time, which are 105, but these blast way louder than the Grells, so I don't know if that rating is accurate, but these guys are so loud. It's going to be good for when we talk about battery, but don't expect that you're going to be using 100 unless you're really trying to make yourself deaf. Here's a sample of me trying to do some recordings for this review, and I had to literally peak this thing down because it was peaking my audio at 70%. So now that we talked about how this can be used for gaming, let's take this to the field and test battery life, range, and overall fit when there's more activity involved. From a range perspective, these work well in-house and you can go between rooms and stay connected. They have a projected range of 10 meters, but in my field testing, I was able to get beyond the length of a football field before disconnecting. This was absolutely insane, and it was nice to know I could run around anywhere without having to tote around my phone during my workout. Coming back to fit, these are so comfortable in ear. Jumping, changing direction, running won't affect these much, and the IPX5 will keep the earbuds protected from sweat and even light rain. Even as the weather got hotter and I was rolling and crawling around the field, these headphones stayed in snug. While many other earbuds require readjustment, I can't recall a single time during my workout where I was fidgeting with the fit. I'm extremely impressed, especially with how simple the design is. Now, in terms of battery, it's kind of a dilemma here. They have been rated and reviewed at under 4 hours of playback, but I got results well over that for some reason.
Hi, this is battery, and I've gotten the 30-minute warning. 30% warning. But we'll have to see how this pans out. I forgot what time I started. Let's check my watch. But yeah, 30% left. Let's see how long we get. It might rain. We'll see. So, I'm dying, but these headphones are still working an hour later. More than an hour. So overall, pretty good. They do start losing connectivity as they're starting to die, but not as fast as I'm dying.
So this is an outdoor sample of the microphones. This should give you a good sense of how it sounds with environmental noise. There's a little bit of wind, some cars going around, but it should do a decent job of blocking it out. When talking with people, they just said that they heard a little bit, but not too much. My voice is still very clear, however robotic. We'll talk about that a little bit more on the indoor sample. But listening to them, they were very, very clear. I could hear all of their enunciations, their accents, whatever. It was very clear. There was no interruptions, and I was very happy with how everything sounded. However, to talk about how I sounded to them, let's go indoors and talk about that a little bit more. So now we're doing an indoor sample of these headphones, more of a library setting, doors closed, windows closed, no environmental distractions, more of a setting where you'd have a conversation. Overall, I will say that the microphones don't come in very natural. They do come in loud and clear. However, there's just a robotic nature to them that can be detracting to certain people. So I think that's something you should consider here when using these for your everyday life. I did use this to talk with clients and my parents, and they kind of reverberated the same sort of input of just, I kind of sounded unnatural, and it wasn't used to what they're used to because I'm either using wired headphones, proper microphones, or other headsets that sound better. So it's probably not the best thing out there. It's good in a pinch, definitely. Like if you're just listening to music, playing games on your phone, and someone calls, you can pick that up and they'll definitely be able to understand you. They'll hear you clearly, very loudly. However, long conversations might be a little bit taxing on the ears because it is of that robotic nature. Outside of that, I do also want to talk about isolation. So these don't have ANC and transparency, but they do have environmental noise cancellation. That does mean that on the outside, you'll be able to sort of block out some of those external noises because it does emphasize your voice, but it won't be as precise and it won't be as strong as some other competitors out there. However, it does a really good job about blocking out those noises. So when I talk about isolation for these samples, just we're just doing the same sort of cafe and city noises, but from my perspective, before you guys get into those, is that it worked really, really well in a cafe. I barely could hear anything outside of very loud, like grinding noises or occasional like screams or like high pitched squeals from the chair sliding. And then in a city, it was mostly the horns, some of the traffic that I could hear. It's a little bit more obvious outdoors when there's a lot of cars around or there's just like subways and things like that. So that will sneak in. So definitely not as good as dedicated ANC, but it's pretty serviceable. So tell me what you guys think of these samples after you hear them.
Okay, so focusing on the sound, you have a 7.2 millimeter driver, which will be good for that bass response, as well as a Knowles balance armature to remove those resonances and give you that clarity in voices and acoustics as you would want. I do like that unique configuration. It seems to perform very well when it comes to music. Again, there is a music mode. I do recommend that you use that because it'll give you the best clarity as well as the best bass response out of the three modes. I did play around with the other ones. The music just sounds a little bit off, not perfect for your music listening. Diving into how I feel about the music, it really kind of comes down to how much bass you use. So for things that are more harmonic or things that have lighter bass, things like acapella, voices shine extremely well. Lighter instruments on the higher tenor side, super crisp, guitars are super crisp, acoustics are amazing. I love it. However, that doesn't mean that you can't listen to bass tracks. This sounds really good and it's really well-rounded because of the fact that it has that strong bass. I did notice that if you have stronger voices, like someone like Beyonce, you're able to cut through that a little bit better and there's a lot better balance. So even if there's a strong groovy bass line, it won't get overpowered. Where I saw that there were some weaknesses sort of in rock and reggaeton, where either the rock guitar was just attacking very aggressively and it was drowning out some of the vocals or pre-choruses of the songs, or with reggaeton where they have layered percussive elements that really made their voices sound a little bit less powerful and it just really didn't have that clarity that I would expect and that I would want out of the balance. However, this may really come down to how these were mixed by the producer. As I saw with my J-rock and J-pop music, despite having a strong bass line, even airy falsettos were never overly powered, and it was extremely well balanced. Even with a song like Nathan Daw and KSI, they had a really good balance on that song as well. There were times where you had a female vocalist, and KSI's more deeper portions, and it was just very well meshed together. The layering of the instruments was nice. There were some haunting chimes in there. It was just very well produced. So I think this has some risk of getting too bassy and getting a little bit muddy and taking out some of that details. However, it might rely on that mix. And overall, just listening for hours on these, I think that this covers most of the genre and really does not sound extremely offensive anywhere. And if we start talking about spoken word or podcasts and things like that, for all the vocal ranges, whether they have a deep voice or high voice, I've noticed that these sound great. So you can watch all of your YouTube videos, all of your commentary videos, anything that is more spoken word and it sounds great. It still brings in the characteristics of their voices, of their microphones, so don't shy away from that. So let's get into some samples. The first one will be a song, just so you guys get an understanding of how the sound signature is for music. And then I'll go to cut away to a really short TikTok clip so that you guys can see how this sounds with spoken word.
Oh my god, those onions are still raw.
So you can kind of guess where I'm going with this now. This smells so good. I wish you guys could smell this right now.
I doubt it.
Smooth that all in.
The thing probably smells like week old queef.
Now we're going to take some more of that marble cheddar cheese and just spray
Why are you doing it that way?
There we go. That one.
So talking through recommendations on the Sirius Pro, these are great little guys. They're nice and portable. I like how slim factored this actually is. It's really easy to pocket. The big thing for me is I do wish that they didn't have this gimmicky bottle opener thing. I feel like you could have just added a lot more battery, but it does give the overall package a nice distinctive look. So, you know, it's give and take there, but I'm a functionality guy. Give me more battery when I could. The only other thing that I could say that would hold you back from these is these obviously don't have ANC, so there's not really a mode for you to switch from that perspective. So if you like your transparency, you like having isolation and having all those options, these are not the most feature-rich earbud out there. However, if you really like sound, still get good isolation and be able to have really low latency with your gaming and things like that, this is going to do extremely well, and I think it's a nice ice catcher. I literally thought that this was going to be a toy. I just picked this up for some funsies and things like that, but these actually ended up being something that I keep around and actually rock with. It's a good switch up from my normal game, especially if I don't need ANC. The sound is just... it punches higher than the actual price tag, so that we can always say that's a good thing. So definitely a recommendation from me. But if you guys have more questions about this, definitely let me know. I can do follow-ups and things like that, because I know that not a lot of people have these headphones, but I think they're worth a shot. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for sticking around with this video. You know, if you could, please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, doing all the things that you normally do on a video that you like and love. And to my OGs, thank you so much for sticking with me, showing up to the different like live streams and shorts and all that sort of stuff. It's cool seeing you guys in the comments and talking to you live. So hopefully get more of you guys onto that. But thank you so much for helping with the growth of this channel. Anyway, I'll see you guys shortly with another review. But as always, appreciate you. Peace.